Welcome to the Deepdale Podcast, our North Norfolk magazine programme. Thanks for listening in. It's July 2025, the sun is shining, the school holidays are fast approaching, and North Norfolk is looking resplendent, but with a few signs of overheating. I'm Jason, and this month we chat with four more lovely people from this beautiful part of the world. First up, we have Mandy Humphreys, the RNLI sea safety person for the Wells area, and a member of both crews of the Wells RNLI lifeboats. Then Georgia Shackleton from the Shackleton Trio chats about life as a musician. Jon Clifton, a local photographer, chats about how the local area inspires him. And Peter Allingham from Archangel Distillery chats about gin and lovely drinks. Enjoy the listen, please do subscribe, and if you have the time, leave a positive review on your favourite podcast app or directory, as this really helps us. And please let your friends and family know about our little slice of North Norfolk life.
Skies all open wide, geese go high and over. Oh, now you're a beachcomber, a fistful of samphire sea, lavender, see you next year.
I'm really pleased to say that we're continuing with our featuring of local RNLI personnel, and I am talking to Mandy Humphreys, who is both the sea safety person for Wells RNLI, but also a member of both the crews for both the inshore and wider lifeboats based at Wells. And it is really lovely to have you with us. I'm gonna say your accent isn't exactly a Norfolk accent, so I'm guessing that this wasn't.
So I've been trying really hard. He's been given his elocution lessons and everything.
Yeah, Nicky and his elocution lessons. One accent meeting another accent that are probably never going to change.
Yeah, no, it's like this.
So where was home before you made Wells home?
Well, no, my home accent is from Northumberland, but I haven't lived in Northumberland for a long time. I know it doesn't sound like that, but I've lived in various places around Chelmsford, Cambridge for a long time. But the accent comes with us wherever I go.
And it just stays. Yeah, it's I think it's like a Welsh accent or a Scottish accent. It never leaves you.
No, and it's part of my identity, so I'm quite happy with that.
So how did you get involved with the Wells RNLI? If it's something you've always been interested in?
My mum's always been involved with the RNLI during my lifetime as a fundraiser, and she started as one of the very first water safety officers back in the Northeast, and she's still doing a bit of that. When we knew that we were going to move to Wells, I knew I just wanted to be part of the crew. It was a really good way. I love swimming. I've got a sailboat. I like being out on the water. And it was a good way to start to integrate into the community here.
So how long have you been in the crew?
7 years.
So the sea
probably
safety
feels like longer to them.
And the sea safety aspect, is that something that's developed within the RNLI and then you've kind of taken that post?
The RNLI it's actually grown out of the lifeguard service.
Yes.
Because what I was told by one of the lead lifeguards that the best lifeguards actually never go into the water. They never get wet because they are so good at delivering water safety messaging that on their shift, nobody gets into difficulty. And it's kind of been born out of that. You know, the RNLI can keep putting assets in and lifeboat stations and all the rest of it. But actually, the most cost-effective, sure way of saving somebody's life is educating them so that they don't get into difficulty in the first place. When you realise that, I learned this fact the other day, that almost 70% of drownings in the UK occur before a 999 call.
Right.
So that means that actually, as lifeboat crew, we've got actually quite a small amount to go at to help save, because, as I say, if there's about 70% of people have gone before, sometimes a 999 call's not even made.
Yeah, it's very sad, isn't it? And it's really interesting over the last few podcast chats, Nikki, Rosie, who chatted to me last month, and Emily the month before. We're all locals. We've grown up with the tides on the North Norfolk coast. We're used to it. It's just second nature. But I think over the last few months, it's come back to me that the average visitor on to North Norfolk has no idea about the tides and the speed of the water and the way that they can get cut off.
The geography around here is pretty unique. But I guess if you went to any lifeboat station, they'd say our geography is unique. But I think it is. I'm pretty well travelled, and I've not been many places that have as big a tidal range, horizontal tidal range, as we have here. And if you haven't been here before, that catches people out. Although I would say it's not just visitors that we rescue.
Oh yeah, no, yes, I'm very aware of that.
It can happen. It can happen to anybody. Anybody can lose track of the time, get caught out having a lovely time, and get distracted. And it's one of the things that I try and understand how it's happened. But sometimes people just simply get distracted because they're enjoying our gorgeous beaches so much.
Yeah, and they are gorgeous.
They are. We're very lucky. I feel very privileged to have been able to move into such a beautiful area.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell me, what key features of sea safety are the RNLI pushing at the moment? What do they feel that are the kind of the key messages?
So for us in Wells, and when I say Wells, I mean Brancaster stay through to Cly, really. Tidal cutoff is by far and away the biggest challenge for us. We've already rescued more people this year than we rescued in the whole of last year. And tidal cutoff is the primary reason for that. In the past, I would say 2 out of 3 people that we rescue, that Wells volunteer lifeboat crews rescue, are cut off by the tide. This year, it's more like 4 out of 5.
Right. Wow. Yeah, and there was a big number of people rescued just in the last couple of weeks, weren't they?
Yeah, I think the gorgeous weather that we've had kind of brought people out in droves. And I think one of the issues that there is, and it's true everywhere, but I think it particularly causes issues here, is people think that the water comes in evenly. It comes in at the same speed all the while, and it goes out at the same speed. And of course it doesn't. Yeah. It kind of, from low water, it sort of starts building up a bit of speed, and then, it starts to speed up quite a lot. And that 3 to 4 hours after low water or before high tide, whichever way you want to look at it, half of the water comes in that 2-hour period. Yeah. And that's what catches people out. Well, I see people all the time on sandbars and things, and, the sea feels like it's miles away, and then all of a sudden it's around their ankles. And because the gradient of the seabed here is so shallow, a meter of water goes a heck of a long way
in
terms of the horizontal distance.
And also people think that people are standing on the beach and they look at it and they kind of think it's a natural sort of one level slope. And then Correct. Of course, so they go quite a long way out, and then they're looking forwards and the tide doesn't seem to be coming in. And then they turn around and realize that it's actually snuck around the back of them really quickly because there's a bit of a dip.
Yeah, I think not just on Wells Beach, but there's an awful lot of it happens on Wells beaches. Those remote parts of the beach that are exposed at low water are really a series of interlocking sandbars with drains between them. And unfortunately, the way that one of the main sandbars off of Wells has developed. I've been watching it growing over the last few years. Now, when the tide comes in, it's actually filling from both sides. So it's creating an island from both sides, whereas when it first developed, it was only coming from one side and you could escape by retracing your steps. But that's no longer possible. And that's why we're getting such an escalation in the number of people getting cut off, because people can't retrace their steps. And it's not so much the people that call 999 that worry me. It's the people that try to wade back themselves. Some of those drains, if you imagine, they've got 2 tides worth of water passing by them every day. So the scouring of those drains is huge. And the sides of the drains are becoming quite steep as a consequence. And the bottom of the drains can be quite muddy. So some of the drains are over 2 meters deep now on Wells Beach. And if you've got somebody trying to wade back, as an example, we've had reports of dads chest deep in water with babies above their heads. You know, you can imagine if you're going into a deep drain that's got a steep side that you can't see the bottom of, it's very easy to lose your footing. And then, you know, God forbid, you've got potentially 2 drownings there waiting to happen. And it's those people that wade back, because it's amazing how many people don't know to phone 999 when they're cut off by the tide. And also there's people are embarrassed, and the people that tell me they're embarrassed, I'll say, well, nobody died of embarrassment. Drowning, however, is a different situation. Really encourage people. It can happen to anybody. We understand that, and we're not trying to judge anybody. If you do find yourself cut off by the tide, please phone 999 as soon as you can. And the more accurate location you can give us, the faster we can get there to you. Because we have been in a situation, I've actually personally been on a shout this year where we rescued 3 casualties and they were up to their chests in water. And that is proper scary.
Yeah. And when you don't know the harbour and which way the tides are going and everything else, the float to survive is one thing, but if you think you're going to be heading out to sea rather than into the harbour, it's all very, very scary, isn't it?
The whole thing is scary. The float to live thing, I think one of the, again, hard facts is that over half of the people that drown in the UK never intended to get wet.
Yeah. So
psychologically, they're not geared up for going into the water. And that's part of the problem. And if you find yourself suddenly in the water and you've given yourself a fright by falling in or whatever, and you've gasped, you know, that gasp reflex that we can't control, and you've lost control of your breathing, that's the single most dangerous thing that can happen to you in the water, I believe. If you haven't got control of your breathing, you are at massive risk of drowning. And that float to live, being like a starfish that I talk to the kids in schools about, is just as relevant for adults.
Yeah.
Getting control of your breath, it takes seconds. If you can float on your back, get control of your breathing. When you're out of control of your breath, your brain is on fire. You don't make good choices under those circumstances. If you can get control of your breathing, A, you can make better decisions. B, you might be able to have the breath to swim back to safety if you can swim. Or you've got the breath to call for help, or at least get your arm up and try and attract attention. But that business of loss of control of your breathing is the start of the drowning process, and it's a killer. And it does it very quickly. You know, you haven't got long. Getting on your back and getting into that starfish position, as I say, it's just as important for adults as it is children.
And we don't want to put people off enjoying the North Norfolk coast. That's not what none of these conversations are about. They're just encouraging people to think and be safe and just check their surroundings. And if people feel that they would prefer to head to a beach, for example, that's got a lifeguard, the beach guards start at sort of roughly Wells, don't
On
they?
Saturday.
And then kind of east. They start on Saturday, do they?
They
Excellent.
start on Saturday. We would be
And
very
they kind
glad to
of
see them.
almost every beach as you go east from Wells, aren't they? So they're sort of, they're not at places like Clyde, but they are
No.
at the sort of sandy beaches really as you
Yes.
go sort of east. So Wells and Sheringham, East
Yeah.
Runton, West Runton,
Calling and as you go
Cromer,
around.
and places like that.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
yeah,
Well, we'll be very glad to see the lifeguards in Wells for two reasons. One, obviously, they're creating, well, as safe a swimming area as is possible. Seawater is unpredictable. Swimming between the red and yellow flags when the lifeguards are there is the safest place to be. But also the Wells lifeguards have access to an all-terrain vehicle, so they're able to patrol the beach slightly wider at the point of which we get people cut off by the tide. So they're able to advise tidal cut-off potential victims that they're in danger. And we see, and I've got my hands on wood here, that in the last 2 years, we saw no tidal cut-off casualties on Wells Beach during their shifts, which
fantastic.
is a massive reduction. And it shows that someone being there on the spot, being able to help educate members of the public, can have a significant impact. So we're really looking forward to that.
Yeah, we definitely need to work on the West Norfolk Borough Council and the parish councils to try and get lifeguards, in places like Hunstanton and Brancaster and Heacham, because Hunstanton's got a lifeguard station. It would be a really logical place to have some lifeguards, but sadly, we don't have anything west of Wells in Norfolk.
Interestingly, from a lifeguarding perspective, Wells Beach, the number of incidents the lifeguards at Wells deal with, if you add up all of the other beaches in North Norfolk together that are manned by lifeguards, Wells on its own, they deal with more incidents than all of the other North Norfolk beaches added together. Just shows you what a really busy beach Wells Beach is.
I guess it's also that combination of having a beach effectively at the entrance to a harbour, isn't it? So that kind of the flows of water are so much greater,
Yes.
and that sort of stuff, and the moving channels, which, as you say, are the kind of the drains, kind of, they move and they cut through at different times depending on different tides. So, and different phases of the weather. So it's quite interesting, and they often have to kind of move the buoys because of the changing route that the water takes, don't they? So it's just as in Brancaster, the channel moves quite a lot.
Yeah, right along the coast. The harbour entrances have to be surveyed regularly and the navigation buoys adjusted appropriately. When you've got a sandy seabed, it's continuously in movement.
Yeah.
And also, one of the things that we do get is we get people coming to Wells and Overy and Blakeney and Morston, and they say, oh, well, I've been here before. I know where everything is. And the thing I would say is, even if you've been here before, it can take overnight. Sandbars can change, sandbars can form and be washed away. Those people that used to come to Wells years ago will remember those huge sand dunes that used to be in front of the beach huts that disappeared in a matter of no time at all. And it just shows you the power of the wind and the sea that can move that sort of volume of sand that had been there for a long time. And you can imagine what's happening under the surface of the water.
Yeah, one decent storm in the winter and the harbour can look very different.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah. Really lovely chatting to me. Fantastic. Thank you so much. And if people want more information, I'm guessing we aim them towards welslifeboat.org and the sea safety pages there.
Yes, please.
And also to rnli.org, where
Yes.
there's more wider information
Yeah,
about.
there's more generic. The RNLI are very good at the generic water safety information, but there is a sea safety page, and I've got a little tab for each of the harbours, as well as a general page, because I couldn't work out how to get local knowledge, so I thought it would be difficult for other people as well. So we've started collecting a little library of local knowledge for a whole raft of different water-based activities.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Mandy, for taking the time to chat with me. Lovely to have you with me and carry on doing the amazing work that you and the rest of the RNLI crew do. Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot. No bother. Bye.
Chatting with the lovely Georgia Shackleton, who is one of the three, strangely enough, trio, the Shackleton Trio, who are going to be joining us on the 19th of July in the Brick Barn, supported by Adam Clark. Many of you will have seen the Shackleton Trio performing at Deepdale over the years. They're a very local, fabulous folk band who we love having at Deepdale, and I think they must quite enjoy coming to Deepdale because they come back reasonably regularly. And it is really lovely to have you doing your own standalone gig. It's going to be lovely, and tickets are selling amazingly well, which is great. So, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Where are your partners in crime?
Aaron's in the shower. And Nick is what he's up to. What is he up to? I think he's on his way to Dudley today. He's
Okay.
he's on his way over that way for a little bit of a break, but also some his wife's doing some work over that way, so they've gone over there together.
I don't think I've ever asked you, but how did the three of you kind of find each other musically to kind of become the trio?
Well, Nick and I met years and years ago. We studied at university together up in Newcastle, and we met there. But we didn't really play much music together at all when we were up there. But we both ended up settling back down in Norfolk, in Norwich, and we're both from this region. And yeah, we started playing a bit of music when we both settled in Norwich together. We met Aaron. Aaron and I are now a couple, and I think we started playing music together. I was booked to play a solo set at Norwich Folk Club, and we had just been having a bit of a jam together, really, and then invited them to come and play with me, and we really enjoyed it. So it just kind of stemmed from there.
Because you guys have been together for, in terms of a music trio for a while, haven't you?
Yeah, 10 years. It's our 10-year anniversary, kind of at the beginning of this year, end of last year, beginning of this year was our 10-year anniversary when we started playing together.
And how does the creative process work? So do you all come into it with ideas of stuff that you'd like to do, or do you kind of get the basics and then the guys kind of work out how they're going to play that, or?
It kind of varies, really. So sometimes I will have written a song and I'll come and bring it to the group, and then we'll all work on that together. There've been quite a few songs that I've brought to the group that we've started playing out for a bit, and then we stop playing them and then just think, what were we up to there, really? Like, it seemed like a good idea at the time. But then so sometimes it will be that kind of approach. Sometimes we'll bring a tune that we've individually written, and sometimes, not as often, we will work on something collectively, but that is an approach that we're sort of looking at a little bit more this year, I think, in sort of seeing how our sound evolves for the next chapter. I think we're going to start actually working on writing some songs together, which will be really fun and really interesting.
That's cool, because you kind of do quite a lot of solo stuff. Nick does quite a lot of solo stuff. Aaron does a lot of production, doesn't he? So you're all busy people on top of, Shackleton Trio.
Yeah, and I think it's sometimes because we're all sort of working on our own solo stuff or music that we want to use for other projects as well. It can be a bit tricky sort of finding the balance of, well, what wants to be used for what fits best for each band or each unit or each solo project, which can feel a bit of a juggle sometimes. But I think we try not to be too precious about it. I think, well, it doesn't matter if we end up playing something in the trio that we also play elsewhere. Yeah. Play the music.
Do you put together tours, or do you tend to kind of play festivals, or how does it work?
A little bit of both. We really enjoy doing festivals, and We like to book in those over the summer. They're really good fun, but they're also really good for, reaching a wider audience, and really good for finding audience members who will then come and buy tickets to other gigs on tours. And we do also tour and really, really enjoy that. We tend to, usually sort of book a tour in the spring and in the autumn or winter to kind of bookend festival season. It feels you've then got sort of a nice shape to the year, and then it kind of gives you some kind of insight on what material you want to sort of curate for next year to keep things moving forward.
And when you do a tour, like, because I think you've been to Scandinavia and places like that, do you tend to do you have favourite venues that you head to, or do you kind of do it by invite, or how does it work?
So we book all our tours ourselves. So there is a lot of, we're really happy that, well, especially in Scandinavia, which is one of our favourite regions to visit, we do feel very lucky that there are a few places that we do visit on repeat every couple of years, and for the time being, they're always happy to have us back. So that's really, really nice. And I think that when you do end up going back to places, you'll have a lot of the same repeat audience members, which is really special. And we have that at Deepdale as well. We really, really love Deepdale for that. And then other gigs will often stem from those repeat visitors to concerts and gigs and festivals and things, and you'll make contacts that way and get invited to new places and play at new venues and festivals.
Well, we're really looking forward to having you grace the Brick Barn stage once again. It's going to be fantastic. 19th of July, and Adam Clark, who often plays with Nick, is joining you, isn't he? So he's coming along, and has been known to sneak in with his banjo to various songs along the way. And what can people expect if they haven't seen you before? And I know a lot of the people who will see you on the 19th will have seen you before at Deepdale in various different guises, but what can people expect from the show on the 19th?
A variety of songs and tunes. So we write a lot of our own material, as we've been talking about, but also we play a lot of traditional music, and a lot of the music is quite rooted in our region in East Anglia. Some of it maybe mirrors the landscape a little bit. A lot of material about the environment and wildlife, so hopefully it's quite fitting to Deepdale and your setting. And a lot of tunes. We play a lot of tunes that we've written ourselves, as well as traditional tunes. Yeah, we get a really positive response from our music, which we're really grateful for, and we're really delighted to have Adam coming and playing as well, and opening the night. He's brilliant, and Adam's really been working on an awful lot of traditional music from the east of England, and he is a multi-instrumentalist, and he's been making some really, really beautiful arrangements of music from this region, which really, it's like an education as well as just watching and listening to the music experience Adam play. It's beautiful. He just has such an understanding of the people who he's learnt the music from, where it's come from, its purpose, and yeah, it's a real joy to watch Adam perform.
It will be lovely to see you in a couple of weeks' time. Can't believe it's so close. It felt like it was miles away when we launched the year's program, and suddenly it's here. It's kind of crazy, really. Really looking forward to it. Thank you so much for chatting to me. If I played a sample of one of your songs, what would you choose?
Ooh, it doesn't really feel like the time of year for it, but maybe everyone could be using a bit of a cool down in this heat wave. So maybe the Frost Fair from our latest album.
Oh, beautiful song. Yeah, fantastic. Wonderful. Thank you so much, Georgia.
Thank you. We look forward to seeing you on the 19th.
Opportunity should come this time of year. We'll
So I'm standing in one of our pop-ups at Dalegate Market. I think we're in the pink one. I am with one of the loveliest people you'll meet behind a camera, certainly in Norfolk, a guy called Jon Clifton, who many of you will have seen snapping beautiful photos of the artists who play at Deepdale Festival and sometimes at other gigs, but also he takes the most amazing landscape photos all round Norfolk whenever inspiration hits him. We're going to have a chat about Jon Clifton photography generally, which is his photography, but also about his amazing Norfolk photo walks, which basically he takes people out and helps small groups just get the best out of their photography kit, whether that be a mobile phone or something more technical. So welcome to Deepdale Podcast.
Thanks for having me along, Jason. It's really nice to talk to you. Thank you.
So this is your first pop-up, isn't it, at Dalegate? You haven't been here before?
No, I've had a stall at the Christmas markets that used to run here a few years back, which was really good, but it kind of transpired that I wanted to get out and sell some of my work a little bit more this year. I've sort of had prints sat on my, or the images sat on my laptop for so long that I wanted to sort of print them and get out and try and sell them if I can. So, I consider Deepdale as a second home really. So it just made perfect sense to try and come here and just try and sell some of my work here. Obviously, the North Norfolk coast it's a beautiful part of the world, and literally from here it's a stone's throw, so you cross the road and you're on the salt marsh. So yeah, it's a beautiful place. There's people here that are on holiday, people that live here sort of walking around, so yeah, it just seemed like a good place to be to try and sell some pictures. Yeah.
What inspires you, or is it more you just, as you're enjoying this beautiful part of the world, you just see things that you think, I want to capture that?
I think for me, Norfolk has it has a ethereal beauty to it. Just looking behind me, I've got a picture of a sunrise in Sandringham Woods. But you can go literally anywhere along the Norfolk coast, and there's always something to see, and there's always beautiful things to photograph. It can be an amazing sunset. It can be, Fornham Barn, which is probably one of the most photographed buildings in Norfolk, but there's just so much around here that is nice to see. Wildlife, for example, Titchwell Nature Reserve up the road, but there's just so much to see, and nature is a wonderful thing, and we've got it here in abundance. Really, there's just so much to see and take pictures of it.
You do your own photography and you produce those in various different ways, but then you also do your Norfolk photography walks. So tell us a bit more about how those work.
So photo walks were started about 6 years ago, and I had the idea when I first moved to Norfolk. I found that going out and taking pictures helped with my own sort of well-being, sort of mentally and physically, and I come up with the idea of trying to put something together that would perhaps help other people. So photo walks were born with the idea that taking pictures, being outside in beautiful places and walking and exploring was all good for you. So what we try and do is perhaps once or twice a month now we go to different places around the coast, and we'll take a walk, and I'll teach people the basics of sort of camera controls and different things, composition. Yeah, and people seem to love it, which is great. And yeah, this is our 6th year. Actually, it's our 6th birthday on Monday. So yeah, 6 years of it, which is really good. Yeah.
And what sort of size groups go on those?
So I kind of limit them to sort of 7 or 8. I mean, that gives me the best chance to get around everybody and just see how people are getting on. And I think that's quite important. As we go out, we'll start walking as a group, and then people will spread out and do their own thing, and I'll work my way around and just see how people are getting on, and perhaps give a little bit more specific advice sort of individually as we go, which it tends to work, I think. That's cool.
It's lovely to have you on the podcast. Lovely to have you in the pop-up shops. We have no festival this year, so of course we're not going to have you taking photos. But you never know; you might pop along and take some photos of some of your favourite bands who are playing during the year. Because we've got people like Shackleton Trio and Christina Alden and Alex Patterson who are playing with India Electric in September, and also with the Lifeboats, which I know you quite like, playing in December, which should be quite fun.
Christmas bash.
Yes,
right.
exactly. Yeah, so that should be really good fun.
They're always really good. Yeah, Man Lifeboats, highly recommended.
If you're looking for more information on photo walks, jump on our website or go to norfolkphotographywalks.com. Thank you very much, and we'll see you soon.
Thanks for having me, Jason. Thank you.
I am chatting to Peter from Archangel Distilleries, who are based at Dunton, just near Fakenham. They are a local artisan distillery, and they are regulars in the pop-up shops at Dalegate Market, which is lovely to have them there. And as part of our series of chatting to local artisans and producers, I thought it'd be really nice to talk to these guys to find out a bit more about how a distillery ends up in a small estate in the middle of Norfolk, really. So welcome to Deepdale Podcast, Peter, and thank you for joining
very much,
me.
Jason.
How did the Archangel Distillery sort of come about?
Well, it was back in early 2016. My business partner, Jude D'Souza, was talking to a great friend of his who just started a gin distillery, Wrecking Coast it was called. That was down in Cornwall. And he was describing the process, and Jude was completely fascinated by it. And this coincided with me needing to move back to Norfolk because my father was retiring. So I needed to help out here with the farms. And Jude wanted to leave London, so he decided to move up to Norfolk. We had some old buildings on the farm which were really falling down. So we decided that it would be a great use of one of those buildings to turn it into a distillery and learn how to make gin. So that's what we did. And in fact, we both went to Holland in early 2016 to see a consultant out there who showed us the process of making gin, explained how it worked, showed us how to use a still so we didn't blow ourselves up.
Always a positive, yeah.
Always a positive, always a positive. And then we began to convert the building. In fact, that took the whole of 2016 to convert the building into a distillery, to obtain the necessary licenses, buy all the equipment in. And in fact, we did our first gin run on the 1st of February 2017.
And so tell us about your range. What sort of gins and liqueurs do you produce?
Well, we started with a classic gin. This is the Archangel Classic. So we put the recipe together really towards the end of 2016. It was a lot of fun doing that because we had to test an awful lot of other people's gins.
That must have been tough.
It was hard. You know, we had to take one for the team there. And basically what we were doing, a serious point to it, which we were identifying all of the gins we really liked and all of the ones we really didn't like. And of the ones we did like, we were working out what the common botanicals were in those gins and trying to identify what sort of botanicals we might be able to source locally as well. Yeah. So by the time we did our first run in February 2017, we'd actually worked out which botanicals we really liked. We were looking at sourcing some ourselves, which we now do from the farm. So we grow juniper, sea buckthorn and lemon verbena ourselves. And we began, with our first batch. I have to tell you, the first run we did was not great because we put too much clove in.
Everybody knows overpowering.
Yeah, I mean, it would have made a good dental anesthetic, but not great gin drinking. And but the second run we did, we actually omitted the clove entirely, blended the two together, and it was absolutely bang on perfect. And basically, we haven't altered the recipe ever since. I'm very pleased to say that that gin has now won 3 awards, particularly one international competition. We got a bronze for that, and we were really thrilled with that. So that's the basic gin. It has a big, strong elder brother called Seraph. The Seraph is a Navy strength gin. That is pretty amazing stuff. Originally, we designed that for cocktails because if you mix it with something like an orange juice, a long mixer, you can still taste the gin. That's the point of having the stronger one. Then thinking about what fruits we could use locally, a friend of mine at Litcham grows a particular variety of rhubarb. So we began a rhubarb gin production. That's a very successful one, very delicious. In fact, we've been making a lot of that this week. Then we also follow that up with sloe gin, and the sloe gin, all locally picked sloes. Again, everything comes from within 10 miles of the distillery. So we pick around 1 million sloes a year.
Holy mackerel.
I know, right? One sloe is 1 gram, and we pick just over a ton. So we know it's just over 1 million sloes. We're using a really crazy amount of fruit in the sloe gin. It's very dark, very rich, and very fruity. So I think an awful lot of sloe gins are made with concentrate, but everything we do here is fresh fruit only. And then the final product, well, actually 2 more products. One is the Golden Plum. That one won an award last year. That comes from the Leaf House Orchard in Burnham. Again, within 10 miles, and we take the entire production of a particular plum every year to make a plum liqueur. And we're very pleased with that one. And then finally, we make a slow port. Now, we're not allowed to call it port because only port comes from Portugal. So it's called Cardinalis, which just means the cardinal. And we called it that because of its deep red color. We thought that was quite appropriate. And it's a really delicious port, sensational with our lovely local Norfolk cheeses. So that's
Which
the
we have
range as
some
it
beautiful
stands
cheese of.
today. Yeah,
I
we have
love
some
that.
great
That's
cheeses.
fantastic. That's really great. And I love the ethos of having everything within sort of 10 miles of the distillery. That's absolutely wonderful.
Yes, yeah, that's very important to us, actually. I mean, if we can source anything locally, we will. And we're even looking at sourcing our raw base ethanol locally in the next couple of years. So, yeah, if we can do it locally, we do. I mean, we've got a fantastic food and drink scene in Norfolk, and most of that is very focused on using the best of local produce, and that's certainly our ethos as well.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Fantastic. Well, we are really looking forward to welcoming you to the pop-up shops at Dalegate Market.
Yeah, it's a great favourite for us, I have to say.
Well, that's lovely
always
to know.
Fun. Yeah.
That's lovely to know. You're with us from the 7th of August till the 12th of August, and
That's
then
it.
the 30th of October to the 4th of November.
That's it.
And
Yes.
that'll be sort of in the preparations for people thinking about Christmas. Not that we're allowed to mention it yet.
I know. Yeah, well,
but it is slow gin sort of time, isn't it, really? I think
that's a scary thing for us. I mean, the slow gin we make takes well over a year to make. The plum takes 22 months, and the Cardinalis, that takes 3 years. And we're ramping up production for Christmas really from the middle of August onwards. So, a really busy time of year for us, October, November, and December.
Very much looking forward to those being tasteable at the pop-up shops, and we really look forward to seeing you, and thank you very much. And if people want more information about Archangel Distilleries, where should they head?
Yes, come to the Archangel Distilleries website. Just Google Archangel Distilleries and you will find us. If you want to come and visit us, we do fairly regular distillery tours as well. Those can be booked online, and we would love to see you. But of course, if you want to just pop in, you can.
Well, thank you so much, Peter. That is really kind of you, and
You're most
we
welcome.
will talk to you soon.
Lovely. Thanks very much. Bye, Jason.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Deepdale Podcast. We really enjoy putting together our North Norfolk magazine programme and hope you'll listen back to some of our previous episodes. If you have the time, then please leave a review on your favourite podcast app or directory, and we'd love your suggestions or submissions, which you can email to podcast@deepdalepodcast.co.uk. Enjoy the rest of the summer.
Skies all open wide, geese go high and over. Oh, now you're a beachcomber, a fistful of sandfire, sea, lavender, sea.